turn me up. I like my money like I like my niggas. Green face card, never decline, know what I mean. Act up and you gon' make me make a scene. Only time you hear my voice is when they play me on the screen. Got bad habits, I'm not the one you wanna keep. She a trap star, put that lady on a tree. Got her ass so shook, she shaking like an apple tree. Yeah, this life ain't meant for you, but baby girl, it's meant for me. This lifestyle ain't meant for you, it's meant for me. This lifestyle got girlies clocking on my teeth. This lifestyle can get you far, know what I mean. This lifestyle ain't meant for you, it's meant for me. What it do? This my boo, she from the south. We running man just like these bitches run they mouth. I got the juice, but they still claiming it's a drought. If I say I'm coming through, I'm about to flip the house. That boy crazy, say he tryna have my baby. Hold on, Slim Shady, just like Mariah, drive him crazy. Got him stressed, make him feel it in his chest. Ask him how it feel, just like a bullet with no vest. This lifestyle ain't meant for you, it's meant for me. This lifestyle got girlies clocking on my teeth. This lifestyle can get you far, know what I mean. This lifestyle ain't meant for you, it's meant for me.
Girl Alive and Bros, welcome to Let's Address It. Okay, so this is where the controversy, confusion, and cultural chaos gets handled properly. Baby, I address past and present scandals, common misconceptions and internet myths, wild viral moments, and old drama that still needs resolution. The things people think they understand until we dig deeper. If it's wild, weird, or wrong, baby, we're pulling up the timeline, the document, and the receipts with some grown woman commentary. Because I address it all, you might as well just call me Miss Addie. Let's get into this mess. What is going on, Vibers? Welcome back. So I wanted to talk to you guys about this because I don't feel like enough people talk about it, right? We are used to so many people talking about, all the women and their crystals and all this kind of stuff. They're all evil witches and all this kind of stuff. But we don't talk about the warlocks in the community, right? And I thought that Umar was the perfect example of this, right? Because this is the second week in a row where we've had an accounting of a woman that's been in his personal space that has witnessed or saw something weird. Now, you didn't have to tell me, okay? It was really easy for me to see that Umar had some stuff going on that was on the spiritual side or whatever. A lot of us know that he calls himself an Ifa priest, which I do believe that that's a lie, because he doesn't exhibit priestly like behaviors, for lack of better words. But y'all, let's get into this, right? Because he does a lot of things that people pick up on that a lot of people might not recognize as occult or spiritual, right? Like when he's repeating things 3 times. Okay, this doesn't necessarily mean that it is, but knowing that he does have some occult understanding and that he does practice on some level, he, practices Ifa and all this kind of stuff. And trust me, this is not to trash Ifa or anyone's spiritual system, but I think this needs to be said too. When you're unhealed, or you're in general just fucked up or coming from a bad position, no matter what your spiritual practice is, it can result in you being in a position of spiritual psychosis and fucked up. Okay, you can be a Christian person, a Muslim person, a Buddhist person, whatever you're doing, a spiritual person. If you're not right and you're unhealed and your energy to start with is coming from a dark or shallow or just a not very good place, no matter what your faith or spiritual practice is, you can turn into a religious nut, a spiritual nut, and it can get to be dangerous for yourself and other people. So I think that we should talk about it, right? Let me hey Brownie, how you doing, honey? I'm gonna get you a wrench when I open up a YouTube page. Okay, she says Umar said spirits was slapping him in his sleep. I'm pretty sure it was happening. Okay, I'm pretty sure Umar has done a lot in his sleep with spirits that he's just not talking about. All right, what's going on? Authentically, Erica said a spiritual bypassing. So listen, when we're talking about spiritual and occult practices, right? You know how donations, 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 or it's a seemingly stupid phrase that he'll use and he'll say it like 3 times over and over again. So in occult and mystical and magical traditions, repeating something 3 times it isn't just for emphasis. And you can find this in any spiritual practice, right? So the power of 3 in esoteric systems, right? 3 is a sacred number. I think drop a blue heart if you understand it, if you know that already. So typically it can represent body, mind, and spirit, past, present, or future. And spell work, repeating 3 times is like an incantation, right? We're going to get a little bit deeper into that at another time as we go over, because I've told you guys this before. People actually sometimes don't even know that they're practicing what could be considered witchcraft or the occult. They're doing everything but saying that's what they're doing, and it has the same effects, right? So, practicing saying stuff 3 times, a lot of times is sealing it, right? So depending upon what you're saying, you could absolutely be solidifying some sort of incantation, curse, spell, whatever you want to, whatever, right? It's not always innocent. If you're doing mirror work and programming, sometimes people may think that they're affirming stuff, but no. If your heart is bitter and you're unhealed, you're not manifesting, you're casting, for lack of better words, if that makes sense. Say says, I learned about saying Harambe 7 times as well for good luck and prosperity. Cool. Brownie says people got to be under a spell if they still believe he opened up a school with their donations. Actually, you laughing and you joking, Brownie, but that's true. It's true. Like if you look, being dumb is a spell, honey. Okay, especially willfully dumb, when it's right in front of your face and you see it, it absolutely is, right? And he does have a certain group of people in a trance. But I will tell you this, in order to fall for Umar's mess, you literally got to be unhealed and just as low vibrational as he is. So when we say the things that we say about like his followers or whatever, call them low vibrational or dumb or whatever, there's some legitimacy to that, because they had to have started out that way in the first place. So yeah, repeating something 3 times negatively, even that rant that he did about old girl, where he's talking about her vagina and he's cursing her. All right. He's attempting to, cast a certain type of energy towards her. He's trying to isolate her and put her into a position, not only spiritually, but physically, right? And socially. He's casting when he's doing that. Exactly. There's a such thing as a glamour spell. And that is something that I've been curating content on, because a lot of people don't know that people through spell work, through intention, will even attack your beauty, attack how you look with their negativity, with their negative manifestations. But look, that's another thing. Let's get into this situation with Umar. But before we do that, just so that it kind of solidifies what I'm talking about. So some scripture clues, right? Even in biblical texts, Jesus often says what? Verily, 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 right? So that's the truth 3 times. So it's a spiritual emphasis, right? Saying it 3 times is like, again, stamping it into the spirit world without, when you say it 3 times, when Umar says it, it doesn't have good divinity, but it has some divinity, if that makes sense. So yeah, let's go get into it. Primetime says Mary Ann was on his ass yesterday. He scammed that lady. Baby, that's a mess. That's a mess. Sab says, what's the difference between casting and manifesting? Okay, so casting, we are typically throwing something out there on someone. We're projecting something. And typically when you're casting, it's negative. So if you're manifesting, which you can do either one of those things, negatively or positively. But typically when we talk about manifestation, we're talking about something positive, right? You might be manifesting a new job, a new home, more money, or something like that. But someone else, I typically will say negative manifestation because people are afraid of the language. Someone else can be saying, while you're simultaneously manifesting positive, or they're seeing you have more money, get a better job, have a better life, they're on the side saying, oh, she's broke, she's poor, she's going to lose their job. They're not going to have anything. You know, she's not going to have that next year or next week. That's casting. That's casting. When someone negatively projects something that isn't true about you. You know how, like in the Bible, it says, "Speak those things that be not as if they really were." Right? That's manifestation. Right? But here's the thing that a lot of people leave out of that. That works on the opposite side. It absolutely can, which is why you definitely have to understand how to keep yourself spiritually protected and grounded, because people are doing these. Sometimes you could be going through shit and be out here fucked up and not even know why. And you've got 100 people lying or negatively manifesting and casting against you, right? Sonia's hairstring says, is it casting if it's true? Good question. So, God, this is going to take me to another topic. So I'm going to try to shorten this, but I promise to come back to this another time, right? So if someone is casting and it's negative, what they're saying is that they want to keep you covered in that. So like if you're blessed, I want you to stay blessed, right? You'll say stay blessed. Or if you're having good luck, I want you to stay that. But if you're having bad luck and I'm saying, oh, she's having bad luck, and it's coming from an intention of seeing you stay that way or remain in that position, you're willing that person to be a perpetual failure or whatever. That's casting, if that makes sense. Let's get into this situation, because Umar definitely was casting on old girl when he was talking about her over there, right? Sej said, Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz, no place like home, 3 times. Yep. We must pay attention to marketing techniques that keeps you wanting their products by manipulation in their marketing. Absolutely. So let's get into this shit with Umar, y'all. Let me pull this into the stream. So the first time that I noticed Umar doing this, of course, it was the 3 times he's saying stuff, I knew it. And then when he was saying, it was something that he was saying a couple of years ago, and I was like, you know what? I feel like he's kind of dabbling into the occult. Then finally it came out that he was into Ifa or something like that. And then we had this. So I played part of this the other day, but I kind of want to focus on this, especially since that other lady came out and exposed him too. So let's go here. Move my phone down a little bit. Okay. Which one is it? Okay. Here is the video. Yeah, this is the one. All right. So listen to what she says, right? Let's make this like this. All right.
He has a shrine room there. And it says ancestral spirits, and it's a door. And I opened it, but I went around. If you go around that corner and you go to the bathroom is kind of like a stand-in bathroom. Yeah. And there's 6 chairs there. And then I think that tie-dye thing is over the shower rail. And then
so notice she said there's a shrine room, right? And it said, what, welcome all ancestral spirits. A lot of people, especially novices, right, when they're doing this and they're welcoming spirits, think about it like this, right? Because I can clearly see what Umar's issue is. Do you like everybody in your family? Everyone that's an ancestor? Can you think of someone that passed away in your family that you don't even like, that did not like you, that you would not fuck with? So he's welcoming ancestral spirits, right? With this sign over the threshold, right? Um, yeah. How do you know? Do you assume that all of your ancestors were righteous people? Do you assume that every single spirit that is ancestral is righteous? You know what I'm saying? So he like literally invites this stuff, right? I don't blame her. She better not walk into that room. And if I were her, I'm sure that there is some attachment that he left with her, especially because not to get, all nasty or whatever, but listen, just on a metaphysical level or even like spiritual, right? She blew him, right? And assuming based on him calling her the quote unquote throat goat, not trying to offend anyone, but we're talking about it. She swallowed, right? You're not just swallowing fluids. That's that man's essence, his energy, his genetics, his DNA. It's every single thing. And if you think that you're not making a spiritual exchange and just be, she accepted something that she may not have wanted. Okay. And she may not even realize she needs a thorough cleansing. So when he was sitting up there talking about she needs a yoni clean, a yoni steam, and a yoni dream, baby, I was in agreement with him. Not for what the bullshit that he was saying, but she absolutely does. She absolutely needs a spiritual cleansing based on what we know and learned about him, right? So let her finish describing this situation at his mom's house.
Bathroom. And there's six chairs there. And then I think that tie-dye thing is over the shower rail. And then if you keep going straight, that's his room. His mother sleeps downstairs. So there is like one of those things that carry elderly up the stairs, but he doesn't use that. I think it's broke. She never goes upstairs. So yeah, the refrigerator was the problem. So he wanted me to give her like these 5-star meals, which I am more than happy to do for her, but he didn't.
Okay, so I was more interested. I think she does get back to talking about, let me fast forward a little bit because she started to talk about he has a place at his mom's house where he's performing ritual sacrifices in the house. So just by virtue of that, right? Thinking about him performing that inside of a house, calling in those spirits, making those sacrifices and all this kind of stuff. Anybody that walked in that house, anybody that has been inside that house while he's performing that and he's in that state or that's been in proximity to him, baby, you might need to go get yourself spiritually cleansed. You really should consider that. Because just even thinking about that, number one, it's irresponsible to do that in a common area inside somebody's house and all this kind of stuff because of everything that's involved. But she even talked about flies being in there because of it and all that stuff. Oh yeah, Empress Kaya, definitely. Goddess Wise said DNA stays in your system for years. It sure does. And a spiritual attachment can go with you to the grave if you don't know any better, right?
Mixed in with her apple juice and her pineapple.
Okay, so I don't know if she's going to mention any more because this is, I think, more of him just being weird while he's shopping, which, again, even that is somewhat of a symptom or a byproduct of, what he's going through, right? What's going on, Stu Main? So this other lady, y'all got to watch this video. Y'all have to watch this video. This guy was supposed to be in this movie, right? Well, he was starring in this movie with this lady. And child, he was doing everything that you can think horrible, right? And she shared what she saw. Okay. And so I'm going to share with you guys. And let me see. I think we're absolutely there. Yeah, we are. So let me share here.
had a bag that he carried around, like I guess a smaller bag that he carried around, a handheld bag, and that he didn't want anyone to look at it or look in or anything like that. And she held it for him as a safety precaution. And she said that inside of that bag, because she looked in there at a certain point, there was these beads, and I guess it may be some sort of a prayer beads, or maybe associated with Ifa. I'm not
more than likely, because he seems to, and I don't feel like he was initiated. I'm willing to say 100% he was never initiated into Ifa or Santeria or anything like that. He's probably like a TikTok witch or something like that. The beads, more than likely, because I don't know which one he's claiming is his Orisha, but it seems like he says it's Ogun, and then he throws around Shango a lot or whatever. So more than likely it was either the beads of Ogun or the beads of Shango that they're talking about. They're definitely not, rosary beads or anything like that.
I'm not quite sure. There was a gun, and there was a sandwich bag, like the little plastic baggies. And in this sandwich bag was like, she explained it like it was like the best thing that comes to my mind is like chicken gizzards, blood, guts, that type of thing inside of the sandwich bag. And she said she didn't understand what that was all about. I have no idea, but this goes to show you some very concerning things. Again, some sort of a bead thing, probably some sort of prayer meditation type of thing, a gun in this little small bag, and then a sandwich bag that had, all I can think of is, let's think of it like the entrails of some sort of animal. Okay. She didn't mention that here during this interview, but that's something else that she mentioned while we talked a couple of days ago. Another thing was, let me just look on my notes here. She did talk about how Umar tried to push up on the different women that were.
Okay, so that's another part about the women. I wanted to stick to his Novella Dolphin. Now, what are you talking about? She says Tunde and anal beads. I cannot. Okay. Jupiter's son says, I don't call upon ancestors in my esoteric practices because I trusted so few of them. I don't want any of those mammies and ninjas dropping by while I'm meditating. Baby, I understand. Okay. Mixtress Monica said, Umar initiated himself, which is not a good idea for a narc to initiate himself into any spiritual system. Absolutely not. Okay. Real says, be careful of people that say the same exact things 3 times in a row. They may be trying to cast a spell. Absolutely. They might be trying to cast a spell, or they may just have some other issues, which Umar, in my opinion, probably does. You know how there are certain disorders and certain pathologies that he don't like to acknowledge. And I don't want to say it because people might get offended, because people get offended for anything that you're trying to explain. But he believes that certain things, certain spectrums, for lack of better words, don't exist. When he might very well be on one. Okay. Nurse Mo says, doing any type of spiritual work in a dirty house is yes. Yes, because what you're doing is you're calling in energies, right? So what energies can be called in? What can you call in? What can you manifest if everything around you is filled with dirt and bad energy and stuff like that? Like him carrying around, what I wanted to talk about too was him carrying around these innards, right, of animals. Why would he be carrying around animal organs with him every day? The spiritual psychosis, mental illness, like he probably believes that they hold some sort of special energy or something like that. And trust me, because of how fucked up he is, they definitely do hold some sort of energy. It definitely does. Okay. Exactly. Like chaos and more filth and mental illness, right? Which is why he's probably nuts. Because again, no matter what your practice is, if you're nuts, have you ever heard, look, just think about it. People can mean well, and they could be, you know, let's say a Christian or a Muslim or whatever religion or whatever. If they're nuts, it's going to come out in their practice. And typically they all have the same symptoms that he does, right? Novella says because he's greedy. But listen, I can clearly see, if you think about the amount of money that it takes for him to fund his lifestyle, traveling all over the place. He's practicing magic specifically for money, to keep money, keep money flowing, right? Which is why he's always gambling. He's always, begging, and he does not work. Umar has not had a job since 2011. He's not had steady work. He's relied solely upon donations for a school that has not opened since it's been bought. None of that stuff, right? And the thing is, by him practicing from a very unhealed, weird perspective, he's going to get the money that he's trying to manifest for himself or whatever, but he's also bringing them demons too that he don't know how to protect himself from. And they're just sticking to his weird ass, right? But I do feel like he's on a downward spiral, okay? CJ said because he's fronting big time yet has no idea what he's doing. Like they used to say, he's perpetrating a fraud. Absolutely. Absolutely. And even like with these women, he is absolutely siphoning energy. And like, I wouldn't be surprised if any women that have dealt with him sexually since he's been doing this stuff, if they're not on the verge of crazy. Now, what I will say is, old girl said that she is into Ifa or practices Ifa, I believe. The one that, exposed him, the one that he's cursing her vagina. So hopefully she knows, what to do to protect herself. Hey, Queen Black. But listen, okay, so he also might be carrying those innards around him, as part of a ritual in progress, right? So he's probably offering it to spirits or demons. I'm just telling you common practices for people that will carry stuff like that around like that. It could be a payment or an exchange, because remember, these are sacrifices. He's carrying around the blood and the organs. And like old girl said, I don't know if it's in that short clip, but in that longer video where she's exposing him, she talks about, he's sacrificed animals at his mom's house. So it's like, he's probably, paying off one of the spirits that he's dealing with, or casting a very long-term curse or spiritual working that he's doing. Who knows? Or it might have something to do with the money, because he was absolutely trying to steal from this woman while he was simultaneously working for her. He's a demon. He's an actual demon. But I also want to say that one thing that we do have to keep in mind with him, and I think that Leonard has done a really good job at kind of like curating or chronicling his psychosis and his weirdness or whatever. A person like a person like Umar more than likely is possessed, or, even spiritually hijacked, if you will, right? He's probably hearing voices, which we've heard him talk about these ancestors that he's speaking to, right? He's not speaking to no ancestors. He's literally speaking to some demons, right? He might be operating outside of some sort of, psychosis and stuff like that, which of course I can't diagnose anybody, but I know a fool just like you know a fool when you see one. Okay. Not possessed by a fallen nigger. Okay. Some spirits, you have to know, feed off of death, organs, some sort of life force, which is why he's carrying around blood, carrying. My husband was like, So, carrying entrails could be this, his spiritual way of holding on to the power, right? If you look into like a lot of different Afro-Caribbean or even indigenous traditions, right? Sometimes they say that, people, they'll remove organs and carry pieces with them. They use it for power. So like, what the hell, what is he doing? Right. Natasha says, when Black Americans talk about ancestors, we have to understand our ancestors also were slave owners. This is true. Some, look, sometimes way back on down up in there was a plantation owner. Okay. And people gonna have to deal with that. Right. They're gonna have to deal with it. Okay. Brina West says, I missed a few of Lennon's lives, so this is my first time hearing this. This man is crazy. I knew he was doing it though. It was obvious. It was so obvious. Sometimes when they're doing this kind of stuff, it's a twisted form of remembrance. Like he might be using the innards or the organs to represent somebody else's heart, or someone that why are you shaking your head? We're talking crazy. Umar's the one repeating 3 things and walking around with a bag of organs and making sacrifices at his mama house. Okay. Yes. Let the woman, she said it too. Let me see if I can find the minute mark where she was saying it, but Lennon just kind of summarized what she said. Let me go to that minute mark. Let me see. Where is it? And then lacking sexual discipline, a lot of times that does kind of go along with that. People don't believe that, but not having sexual discipline is a spiritual issue. It really is. Let me see where here it is, where Lennon.
Filthy. She also said that he had a bag that he carried around, like I guess a smaller bag that he carried around, a handheld bag, and that he didn't want anyone to look at it or look in or anything like that.
Yeah,
he held it for him as a safety precaution. And she said that inside of that bag, because she looked in there at a certain point, there was these beads, and I guess it may be some sort of a prayer beads. It may be associated with Ifa. I'm not quite sure. There was a gun, and there was a sandwich bag. You know, like the little plastic baggies. And in this sandwich bag was like, she explained it like it was like the best thing that comes to my mind is like chicken gizzards, you know, blood, guts, that type of thing inside of the sandwich bag. And she said she didn't understand what that was all about. I have no idea, but this goes to show you some very concerning things. Again, some sort of a bead thing, probably some sort of prayer meditation type of thing, a gun in this little small bag, and then a sandwich bag that had, all I can think of is, let's think of it like the entrails of some sort of animal. Okay.
Yeah. So no, it wouldn't be a mojo bag. Not a Nesto bag. I cannot with y'all. I wouldn't say, I understand where you're going with that, but definitely not a mojo bag. This is something completely different. But people got to stop sleeping on the fact that people are running around so much trying to accuse women of doing things spiritually. You know, the whole don't eat the woman's spaghetti and don't do this. Men be doing stuff, all right? Like, just even for a second, as an example, these dating gurus, right? When they talk about, they literally are describing and talking about sex rituals all the time. You ever heard these niggas talking about semen retention? You ever heard them talking about that? Okay. Many male dating coaches, the pickup artists or the masculinity influencers, they push sexual domination as power, right? They teach men to sleep with women without emotional attachment or any sort of energy exchange, right? As protection. Okay. Some of them, you know, encourage semen retention, and they use women basically as energy batteries. Okay. And baby, that's not a game. That's sex magic, and it's very vampiric. Okay. They teach rituals to gain influence, money, and control. And again, it's coming from a very, very dark space. So, you know, I'm just right. The spitting in your mouth and stuff. Like, who came up with spitting in your mouth? Who came up with that? That is fucking demonic. It's demonic, you know? There are men that practice a lot of, now this is what I was going to talk about earlier, but I decided to talk about this. Yes, the tantric sex. Yes. Men who, you know, post subliminal messages or prayers like, Lord, humble my enemies. If y'all don't understand that, she gonna regret leaving me and stuff like that, constantly posting about someone that they've been with, saying that, you know, they're not going to be able to leave them and all this kind of stuff. They're going to wish they never crossed me. That people are speaking incantations, right? Yes, it is very demonic. And yes, sex magic is real. And a lot of people associate sex magic only with women when men can practice almost the most powerful form of it. And they do. Like, you be walking around here trying to figure out why you can't leave this nigga who is, you know, doing God knows what, and you know, whatever the fuck that is, and you already know. Okay, being dignitized is not just a simple thing. It can take on a spiritual context. Hey, soft place to land. Novella says any type of spitting is so damn demonic and vulgar. It's gross. You know, they did do a spitting type situation in what was it? Sinners. In Sinners. Okay. Bella said she thinks she understood. Well, baby, you better cleanse, honey. You better cleanse, purify, and protect. Okay. Anti-Afro Svengali says too many folks discount the impact and significance of demonic forces. These forces and being inhabit the earth in what appears to be human form. Absolutely. Absolutely. Brownie says, Bella, I ain't even gonna tell my story about the ritual I had put on me. Look, one of my cousins told me she found out her husband was doing spell work on her because she had put cameras because she was trying to figure out what was going on when she wasn't home. Nigga was writing spells all over the bed sheets. He was dousing oils, doing all type of weird shit. And she didn't even know if she had not have been recording. You just never know. Kaya said trauma bonding is a form of magic. It is. It is. JMM55 says an older friend warned me years ago about men who would put the white horse on their blank to control. Oh, I used to hear about that. Asia says anchoring yourself to a woman with a baby is sex magic. Girl, look. Don't get me started with the anchor babies. Okay, don't let me look. Modern hexes, they do not require candles. Okay, they don't require a whole lot. Most of what people do spiritually to affect you is literally what they say and how much they mean it and what their intentions are and the energy that they put behind it. That is 90% of it. Intention, energy. Okay, that is 95% of any work that anybody is doing on anyone. And again, God, this is why I said, please do a video on anchor babies. I got to remember that. Hold on. Okay, will do. Yes, pornography is absolutely demonic. Yep, absolutely. Okay. Digital spell casting, okay? A spiritual hustler is what Umar is, right? Men who walk around doing things like he does. Like, think about how he has operated and like how his followers can't see him. They have to be under some sort of spell work of his. You can't look at this man and see that he's dirty. You can't look at this man and see that he is unkempt, that he is, not honest, that he is on the verge of some sort of psychotic break. No differently than his daughter. His daughter is affected by the spiritual energies that he is playing with. You can't see that. That girl, and think about it, the closer she has tried to get to him, the crazier she appears. And I don't even mean that in a bad way, but she's getting worse. She's getting worse. As she starts to emulate Umar, as she starts to kind of take on some of his persona, she's starting to literally embody that spirit. Happy said a lot of women love this man. They do. But again, in order for you to literally get entrapped into this Umar spell, You got to be on that vibe. You got to be on that frequency. They are a bunch of, just like him, they're a bunch of dick thirsty women. They're a bunch of women that literally are on that same low tiered vibration as he is, because there's a reason why it don't affect us. It's a reason why we can see through his ass, right? Once you start, seeing more of him, if you've only seen a couple of videos or his earlier work, sure, he can fly under the radar. But if you've been watching this shit all this time, girl, don't be dumb. Don't be dumb. And the fact that you've watched these women are watching this man literally. I have never heard in my life, and I'm an old bitch, y'all know this, but I have never heard in my life a man sexually degrade verbally a woman the way Umar did that woman. And again, he's cursing her. He's literally cursing her vagina. He literally is. She might know this, I'm not sure, but the repeating, it's this, it's stank, it's this, it's this. Y'all think it's funny and it's just dragging. No, he's cursing. And the fact that he has been so disrespectful and disgusting towards that woman, and women are still all up in the comments, y'all, talking about, can I be next? You go to his comment section right now on his videos. These hoes is thirsting after him. Attitude and Tylenol says, I've never been impressed by him. I instantly picked up on that slick talking nigga energy that he gives. I'm not gonna lie. My first impression was Hidden Colors. And I was like, I can get behind that. You know what I mean? It made sense to me, what he was saying. To the point where I was donating in good faith, even though my kids would have never been benefited from this school because they were already about to graduate high school when I was donating to him. I was like, you know what? He wants to help the kids. Let me go ahead and, let me go ahead and donate. But years later, after watching him and becoming more familiar with the shit, and let me tell you something, I wouldn't be surprised if he self-harms. I hope not. But he's in that state of psychosis, and he's so arrogant and full of ego that he would rather destroy himself, in my opinion, than face up to reality. Umar has been working a long time to mask and to cover himself. And now that these women are removing the mask, honey, he's either going to come out very, very violent or very, very psychotic, or he might be in trouble. Okay. Irie Vibe says, am I saying your words? Am I saying your name right when I say Irie, or is it Erie? Because I know a girl named Orisha, not Orisha, Irisha, and she spelled her name like that. She said he cursed a conscious stripper the same way. He also spoke under young girls' clothes. Yes. He's always, and here's the thing, people can curse you and practice this kind of stuff on you without you even being none the wiser that they're doing it. It is literally all about intention. And negative or envious energy is some of the most powerful energy to work from. It is very powerful. JMM55 says, we have these charlatans like Umar in Detroit back in the 70s and 80s, all that back to Africa, sister, brother, motherland, dashiki wearing. Yes, them niggas is so fake. Okay. Real said, I tried to give him the benefit of the doubt, but that once, twice, 3 times repeating himself left me cold, baby. You know what? Just like, put it like this. Let me see. I think there was another, let me see. Is this the one where he was, because all he does is curse women. If we're being honest, that's all he does. And let me see. Even the situation with Umar's mom, hoarding. Y'all, hoarding is one of the biggest signs of spiritual dysfunction. Okay. Brownie says, if my spirit ain't messing with you, there is no benefit of doubt. A lot of people aren't in tune, though. A lot of people are not in tune. Anti-Afro, she says, there's a difference between spirituality and psychosis. There are those who believe Umar Johnson crossed over into psychotic domain. I do too. I definitely do too. Definitely. Okay. The thing about it is all power ain't divine. And we cannot necessarily be in denial of him having some sort of a power because he has been able to sustain himself for a very, very long time and keep people out here fucked up and donating. Right. But the other side gives gifts too, for lack of better words. Hey, Q, how you doing, boo? I hope you are enjoying your vacation, boo. So if you have no spiritual discernment, you're an open portal. Anybody can get in. And I do mean anybody, anything. When you have no spiritual discernment, you are open, right? People do things. People like Umar do things without he may not even fully understand exactly what it is that he's doing. He may not fully understand. She says, girl, I'm tired. I've been up since 4:30, but happy to be in Chicago. Cool. Jupiter said, if a dude says Grand Rising, I run like hell. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. But even think about, even if you go into like the biblical understanding of this, right? Reprobated minds, right? Scripture says that God will give them over, to a reprobate mind. I think it's safe to say that not only will the biblical God give you over to a reprobated mind, so will those other gods, okay, that people want to dibble and dabble with. Okay, he's obviously been left over to the dark side. Friday Child says, my grandma used to say that too. The devil gives blessings too. Look, there's a yin and a yang to everything. Okay. Repetition and ritual and rhyme hold power, which is why if you think about it, this is another conversation, but even in some of the practices in government, in business, with corporations, a lot of them are into occult practices. But, you have mission statements, you have slogans, you have things that people have you repeat and say over and over again. You are practicing or participating in incantations. And there's an energy attached to a lot of the things that people are doing, and they don't even know it. That's why I tell people to stop participating in this entire this self-loathing energy, this poverty mindset that they're trying to get everybody to participate in because of the spiritual climate. You do not have to participate. Okay. People are literally harvesting your energy by the second. Ever since Trump was elected, you have every single social media outlet just about anyway, saying that we about to go back to slavery. They finna do this to us. You are manifesting. And I will allow you to do that. But understand that you're speaking those curses over yourself, over your family. I'm not participating, Muffin. But y'all can participate with the mainstream media and with everyone else and run around with your chickens, run around like the chickens if you want to, but you don't have to participate in that. You don't have to be walking around in fear of some weird ass timeline that you're willing to participate in. JMM55 says, I'm surprised that Umar doesn't have land with that cult following living in tents. Baby, it's on the way. But see, Umar knows how fucked up he is. I think he knows that he's nuts. That's why he don't want nobody around him. That's why. iRevive says, one time my Uber driver was into that weird Black Power stuff. I think he thought I could be one of his women workers until he found out I'm an old bitch. Shout out to the old bitches. That's what I'm talking about. Natasha says, I claim I will not participate with the Orange Demons mess. Yep. Here's the thing. I don't even think it's him asking for participation. If you think about it, everywhere you go, our friends, you know, our family, everyone on social media. We're going to be poor. We're going to do this. This is going to happen. And they repeat this all day. They're literally drawing that stuff in, saying that you're going to be in captivity, that you're going to be poor. There's going to be no food. We ain't going to be able to get. That's your problem, not mine. Speak those things that be not as if they really were over yourself, not me. You have to block those vibes. Okay. Oh, yeah. I remember the 13 stars. I absolutely do. I absolutely do. Anti says liking a leader has zero to do with evaluating whether a policy makes sense. That's true. That's true. Or even you don't have to accept anybody's leadership. You really don't. You don't have to accept nobody's leadership. So Asia says, I'm not going to be poor. There's plenty of money and resources out here. I'm getting all of them. Absolutely. Look, that's me every day. When people start that, you know, we about to be going to the store and ain't going to be no food. Really? Okay. Ain't going to be no food for you, baby. I'm going to eat real good. Okay. Keontae says, I started getting back into the Bible earlier this month because, girl, you are so right. So right. I need positivity and light in my life, not doom and gloom. Because, baby, people got it for you. Okay. Natasha, those mega church devil pastors spoke incantation over that clown's head. Yep. Sure did. Sure did. Yep. I didn't catch it all. I watched some of it this morning. I just played a clip from it. Y'all got to watch it. But I just wanted to highlight, you know, what she said about him walking around with the bags and all this kind of stuff. Like, this dude, he's really crazy. He is really crazy. Novella says, I am comfortable, cozy, and luxurious. No worries over here. I'm covered and provided for. Amen. And I agree, and I share that with you. Sejay says, there's a house in San Jose, California, the Winchester Mystery House, owned by Sarah Winchester. Her husband was the manufacturer of the Winchester rifle. Her husband passed, and her daughter. Interesting. Q says, yep, I'm living good, traveling, eating good, etc. Absolutely. And Chick-fil-A gal says, I'm eating what my most pie provides for me. And that's coming from the natural soil and fresh meat. Okay. I'm going to have to check it out. Yeah, I'm going to have to check that out. Wu said that I think his psychosis is karma for stealing people's money. Not only is that right, because karma can come in many forms, which, you know, the concept of karma that you're talking about, because technically is not karma, but I understand exactly what you're saying. But here's the thing, though. Umar's playing with them spirits, right? That's why he's walking around with bloody guts in a plastic bag, because he thinks that, you know, he's got to have an offering for those spirits at all times or whatever. This nigga has gone crazy. His spiritual psychosis is paid back from dealing with those dark, evil spirits. And I wouldn't be surprised if somebody threw some work back on his ass too. Like these women that he be messing with, I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised at all if they threw some work on him. Okay. But his hoarding, go back to this video, right? Just even thinking about, okay, as she's describing the hoarding situation, many people misunderstand how spiritual gateways can manifest, right? It can manifest in your mind, your body. And, you know, when the occult is entered through a wounded ego, listen, hoarding is not just physical, right? Spiritually, hoarding can be a sign of spiritual congestion. He's stopped up. He is overrun with fucking demons. This is why he keeps literally, did y'all see how many times he got exposed for living in a hoarding situation? Did y'all see it? Did y'all see how many times he made a mistake and flipped the camera, and he's literally sitting in a room with piles and piles of trash all over him? Did y'all see that? It's a mess. It's a mess. He's going to get that. Oh, yeah, he's going to get it from harming women. You can't traumatize feminine energy and walk away. And then he likes to call on Yemaya and Oshun and all this kind of stuff. Child, keep playing. Keep playing. Keep playing. Okay. This is spiritual psychosis. Look at this shit. We showed this, but just in context with this man, literally, I think it's in this video where she goes on to talk about the flies and the place where he's literally sacrificing animals. Let me see.
Doing this. So I put the remaining ones in a box. And then when he came back in, I think he went off to, this must have been the trip to Michigan. When he came back in the house, he was just on 10. And I was fighting you, and I was like, no, it's not drugs. It's not drugs. Linda doesn't know. But he is on something. He's on something hard. Because he was like on 10, and we were in front of his mom, and he was like, go sit down. I'm not going to talk to you. And I just went over there and sat down, which is not necessarily my personality, but you got to understand, I'm in a state I don't know anything about. I don't know anybody there. I had trust in this person, was going to be, level-headed. He's not level-headed, and it's just, I just did what he said. So going back to it, like the floors are really bad. You need to power wash them. I said, you need to power wash the floors. We need to, wash down the walls. I've come from a clean home. I keep home. So we got to.
And here's the thing, that statement that she's making where she's talking about being hygienic and clean, this is why he's attacking her as well. Notice he tried to turn every single thing that which I just don't believe that woman was dirty. Like he's a liar. You know what I mean? He's a liar. I just do not believe it. But I believe that because he knows that she could expose how filthy he was, right? Just how disgusting and what a hoarder he was. He's attacking her in that way. He's literally trying to project his spiritual station onto her is what he's trying to do. Like all of a sudden she's so dirty. She's this, like, just even thinking about it. Let me pull it up. Let me pull it up again and send it over to my computer. Because the fact that people don't understand, like everyone thinks it's just funny. Oh, Umar was clowning her and said her vagina smelled. No, that's not what he was doing. It was far beyond that. That is not what he was doing. It was far deeper than that. Malik Muhammad, thank you so much for the super chat. He said, Umar, king of homeless hoboism. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Primetime says he's going to fuck around and catch a case. It's a prosecutor right now doing the Birdman hand rub. Do not be surprised when it happens. Let me bring this video up here again where he's talking about this woman. Because, let me remove this. Oh, thank you so much, Anti. She says, none of this is new for Umar. It's common for him to visit a country, come back with his head shaved, mumbling, chanting, always with the new name each time from every country. That's another sign of psychosis. Wouldn't you say so? Walking around here naming him, like he's literally renamed himself like 100 times. Let me see so I don't have that much time because we got to do our manifestation meeting at 3. But let me fast forward to where he really starts going in on this woman.
All of this began while I was in Stockholm, Sweden. 989-9858. You can text message me at 215-989-9858. So, whenever I don't have a dependable...
Let me fast forward because, baby, I can't.
Y'all know how much I wanted to go to the Congo. I had been waiting for that. I had to cancel because mom comes first. When I went to Sweden, there was a young lady who I met because she invited me to Kansas City to speak at an event. So her and her son drove me from Omaha, Nebraska to Kansas City to speak. I believe the event was,
Fast forward.
this was a business transaction. You paid her to care for your mother. And although she included plenty of lies in her narrative, although she included plenty of exaggerations and fallacies and untruths in her narrative, the mere fact that she purported to discuss your mother's personal sensitive information makes her guilty of HIPAA. And if we can prove that she in fact violated HIPAA law by
And, you know, like we were saying the other day, just in case you're just hearing this for the first time, I'm just trying to get to where he was literally cursing this woman's vagina, right? And projecting his spiritual filth onto her. No one is going to catch a HIPAA violation unless they've been HIPAA certified. This woman is not in the healthcare industry. You decided to do this. And you know what's so crazy? The lady that exposed him last night, right? She said that she was privy to hearing him actually sit up there and be verbally abusive to his mom's caretakers. Okay. Exactly, Brownie. Okay. Exactly.
discussing my mother's business. She can be fined, and she can also be jailed, and she can also be prevented permanently from ever working in the human services field again.
So he's trying to act like he hired her as a nurse, which is, again, Umar does not respect his followers. He knows that they're dumb, which is why he's continuously, you know, doing spell casting and stuff like that and trying to keep them, you know, entrenched into his bullshit. There's no way you can respect someone intellectually by telling them stupid shit like this. How can she get a HIPAA law violation? And how are people comfortable with even toying with the idea that you would want your kids around this guy? Why would you want your kids around this guy after he talked about somebody's vagina? And women who are still like attracted to him, want to be around him or whatever, these little dust mite heifers, you don't know that you're the next vagina that he's going to be dragging. You don't know that you're the next one he's going to be disrespecting or either silencing like he's did so many other women to the point of embarrassment. Like, child, please.
An attorney told me that, so
No,
I
they
have
didn't.
to pay him, okay, the retainer fee, and he's going to pick it up from here. So she could go to jail for what she did against my mother, discussing her personal business. I thought parents were off limits.
You could go to jail for what you did. Now he's repeating, I thought parents were off limits, so that he can project that onto the listening audience. Because now he's trying to convince you that she was discussing his mom in a negative way and not just exposing the lack of care that the mom is getting. This is absolutely mental manipulation. And remember, this is someone who has a psychology degree, right? So he understands, even from a professional level, what he is doing, right? He understands the kind of hypnosis that he's attempting to perform. That's not even the topic, right? No one saw this woman dragging or heard this woman dragging his mother, but by him keeping repeatedly saying, I thought parents were off limits. I thought parents were off limits. I thought parents were off limits. That's making you think on a subliminal level that she attacked his mother. And nothing like that happened.
Limits. I thought parents were off limits, but I guess when you're that trifling, when you're that low down, when you're that deceptive and manipulative, nothing is off limits. So anyway, brothers and sisters, she said, I can care for your mother. She won my confidence. I said, let's do it. So she cared for my mother twice. The weekend I was in Eastern Michigan University, that was 3 nights. And she cared for my mother for the week that I was in Stockholm, Sweden. I believe that was 5 or 6 nights. Okay. Eastern Michigan University, Stockholm, Sweden. I paid her both times. She never spent time with me in my mother's house because I don't spend time with women in my mother's house. Business is business. Personal is personal. I got her a hotel. I Ubered her over to the home. When she got to the home, I went over instructions with her. I went to the airport. When I got back from both trips, I Ubered her to a hotel. And then she flew out. I paid for her flight. I paid for her hotel. Business was business. Personal was personal. So, after returning from Sweden, I was very disappointed in the care that my mother was given. After returning from Sweden,
then why didn't you do something about it? Why did you know what I mean? Like the way that I do not like this mess. Okay. Thank you to the person that just placed an order from my website. I'm actually thinking about, because people do inbox me, because I feel like with the credit repair kit, sometimes people have like a hard time just getting started. I think I'm going to do a quick little webinar on how to use it and get started so that you can clean your own credit up and stop paying people all this money to do what you can do yourself. Takes a little effort, right? So I kind of understand why they charge for it, but like, you can do it yourself. You can do it yourself.
I was very disappointed in the care that my mother was given. I'm not going to go into detail over the egregious lack of regard and concern she displayed for my mother. I'm not going to go over that. That's too personal. But I was very disappointed and I was guilty. Whenever my mother...
Okay, he's painting the narrative like narcissists do. I was trying to get to a certain point.
Pastor Bussy, the Rainbow Bunny, has been cyber stalking me for 10 years.
Nobody's been cyber stalking you by watching and reacting to the videos that you put out. But again, he is trying to paint narratives to his dumbass followers.
People have asked me to put a stop to him legally. I had 2 attorneys who sent him cease and desist. And he did not cease and desist. Those attorneys did not live in Utah, where he lives.
And I think this is where he's trying to like confuse things, because first of all, he ain't gonna do shit. He's not gonna sue anybody, because that means that he's gonna open himself up for his own slander and libel and investigations into what he does with these donations and shit like that. Best believe Umar ain't gonna sue a motherfucker. Okay. You could have a car accident with this nigga and be at fault. He's not gonna sue you. He's not gonna sue you because he does not want anybody looking into his ass legally. Okay. He fears transparency. And when you deal with legality, you have to be willing to be just as transparent as the other person. So no.
Those attorneys did not live in Utah, so there was no follow-up. I recently consulted with a Utah attorney who told me I have a serious
lies
case against Pastor Bussy, the Rainbow Bunny. But I'm going to have to fly out to Utah a couple times to appear in court. So this attorney told me that if I give him the retainer, he will begin the investigation on Pastor Bussy. And after looking at Pastor Bussy's YouTube page, he says he is quite certain that I have a case for slander. I have a case for libel. I have a case for defamation. And he also said, because he's been making money off of my name for 10 years, that he can be made to pay me back all the money that he made in my name.
Again, no respect for his followers, because we know this is a lie. Someone doing commentary about a public figure who literally does lives, 2-hour lives about his own personal life, who has literally exposed himself, right? This whole, like, this right here, this situation, this was your camera flip that you left on social media. That's you. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't blame, quote unquote, Pastor Bussy.
We can lay siege to any property that he owns. I told him that the man is broke. He don't have any property.
Projecting. And again, when people, this is literally casting, right? He's broke. He doesn't have any property, right? He doesn't have anything. He doesn't have any money, right? But he's projecting that onto other people.
He basically pays his bills by making Dr. Umar defamation films. He said, well, if that's the case, if he has a job, then his wages can be garnished until he satisfies the balance of the settlement from court. So brothers and sisters, I have finally realized that I have to have a Dr. Umar defense fund.
So we said all that obviously because, and this wasn't even what I wanted to talk about because we went over this, but this is just a money ploy. This is a money ploy. He's not a public figure that is literally out here, right? Real. He's not a public figure that's out here legitimately suing anyone, right? He's not going to sue anyone, but he wants those donations. He wants some donations because he's a victim, y'all. He's a victim. He sat up here and talked about this woman's vagina for 30 minutes straight, but he's a victim. Let's go. I'm trying to get to that part.
Fish tank that somebody ain't cleaned and like.
Here it is. Here you go.
Brothers and sisters, this woman told Pastor Bussy, the Rainbow Bunny, the YouTubian struggle streamer, she told Pastor Bussy that I went down on her. Brothers and sisters.
And you did. You did. You probably munched for several hours. I believe her. I don't believe she has no reason to lie. You look like a big old munch.
I'm willing to take a lie detector test. Brothers and sisters,
Hey,
I'm
Rick.
willing to take a lie detector test.
So people talking about they be willing to, everybody I know that says they're willing to take a lie detector test is a fucking liar. Every one of them. Every one of them.
Brothers and sisters, I'm willing to take a lie detector test. When that woman, after gummy bearing my Shango stick, that woman took off her underwear, and I'm telling you, brothers and sisters, and I don't mean no disrespect to feminine energy. I don't mean no disrespect to feminine energy. I don't mean no disrespect to feminine energy. When she took her underwear off, brothers and sisters, she smelled like something crawled up inside of her and died.
Again, I don't believe this for there's nothing that Umar can do to make me think that this is true. I feel like what he's doing is literally casting at her vagina, and at her social currency, attempting to humiliate and degrade her and put it to where the entire internet, you know how these niggas are, how these people are, they love this type of bullshit. Everyone wants to say people's vaginas smell and all this kind of stuff. And he's just trying to gas her and put her in a position to where people are talking bad about her and all this kind of stuff. And just like Maya said, you still slept with her multiple times. So to sit up there and say that she smelled like a fish tank when you admit to being with her multiple times, and then I'm sorry, sir, but this right here, don't nobody care about what did this room smell like? What do that gym smell like? Like, what do this room smell like? Why are you talking about she smelled like a fish tank? If that's the case, she probably smelled like your damn room.
She smelled like an old fish tank. You ever smell a fish tank that somebody ain't cleaned in like 2 years?
No, but your filthy ass probably has. Because didn't they say there was a fish tank at his mom's house? He's projecting. He's fucking projecting. You know exactly what an uncleaned fish tank smells like.
They got goldfish in there. They got all kind of fish. And it ain't been cleaned in years. That's what she smelled like when she took off those funky ass drawers. Her drawers were so old and so funky.
And again, just think about this. This is, you want to know, look, everybody loves to talk about what's wrong with the community, right? Everybody loves to talk about what's wrong with the community, what's wrong with Black men and what's wrong with Black women. If this is your motherfucking leader, if this lying, scamming, disrespectful hoe of a man, right? With a plethora of baby mamas, children running around here that don't even spend time with him, that he's not caring for, is your fucking leader. This is what's wrong with the Black community. Because it's a point that Taz has made often. You actually have a Black man that is in the community that did exactly what Umar has never done, has been doing. And the thing is, what's crazy, before we even knew Q Butter, Taz was promoting that school before we ever got to YouTube, before he even met him, before we even knew him, before he ever even dipped in on a Zyx classroom. We promoted that, right? Because he's actually doing something. The Black community is not getting behind Q Butter. Imagine if the community got behind Q Butter, who has a track record of actually doing it, versus a fucking charlatan like Umar Johnson. A demented fucking warlock. Like, really think about this. People have donated millions to this man. I've never seen Q Butter's GoFundMe get up to no $100,000. And he actually has the students. He actually has a STEM school that he created with Black children in mind. But where are his donations? Where? And you know what? That's another thing. Umar don't even like kids. Don't even like kids. Van, you must be high as fuck. Why don't you ever come into my chat room saying stupid shit like this ever again, Van? Dr. Boyce Watkins is a great person to get behind. Do you know how many women he tried to steal from? He tried to steal from Michi X. I think he tried to steal from Paris Milan. He tried to steal from every Black woman that he worked with. And then he tried to sell y'all some goddamn flashcards that was made by an Asian dude and had it and got exposed for all of that shit. For all that stuff. Like, Dr. Boyce Watkins is a fucking fraud. He's full of shit. And he's another nigga that's just gaming the community based off of our own insecurities and lack of understanding and knowledge. Because largely, we're dumb. We're dumb. We loved, like, the people that we should get behind, we don't. Because we like fake ass niggas. Like why would we like Dr. Boyce Watkins? Are you high? Are you high? Anyway, I gotta go. We got a manifestation meeting. I'm 1 minute late. I gotta open up the Zoom for the ladies. Thank you guys for coming through. I appreciate you all. Thank you for supporting. Thanks for the super chats. And I appreciate the cash apps as well. I will see you guys a little bit later.